In this video, I'll take you through my entire retouching process using 16-bit frequency separation technique. Hey everybody, Everett Christopher here, aka Photo Loco. Thank you so much for joining today. I hope you're having a great day. Please support me by liking the video, subscribing, and clicking that bell. You can also visit www.photolo.co to see my other links, my other sites, and other ways that you can support me, like my Patreon account. Okay, so today we're going to be retouching this photo from beginning to end, and I'm going to be splitting this up into two different videos. I'm going to be first editing it using the standard traditional apply image frequency separation technique using a 16-bit photo. One thing that people don't realize is there is a difference in how you set up the apply image parameters between 8 and 16-bit. I see a lot of people online using 8-bit parameters for 16-bit, and they're not doing it correctly. So how do I know this? The best frequency separation video I have ever seen is from this gentleman, Sid V Photo on YouTube. Specifically, this is the video. It's called New Frequency Separation 3 and 5 Techniques in Photoshop, In-Depth Breakdown and Free Actions. What Sid does here is proving that the apply image 16-bit technique is the most accurate way to do frequency separation by reporting it with data that's shown in the histogram palette, specifically the mean standard deviation. I'm not going to go into it, but if you want the best frequency separation video that explains almost all of the methods that are out there, then please check out that video. It is awesome. So back to what I'm doing. So that's the first part. That's the first part I'm going to be doing. The second part is a request. Someone requested that I do a retouch video from beginning to end using a 3-layer frequency separation action that I use frequently. It is a very quick way and nice way to do retouching, and so that'll be kind of part 2 of this series. So first with the apply image technique, and this is going to be the photo that we use. I'll go ahead and just straighten this out a little more. And let's go ahead and zoom in here and see what we're dealing with. So we have a pretty sharp image. This was shot with my Tokina macro lens. I did a video, by the way, on how a macro lens is an amazing choice for a portrait lens if you don't have the money to purchase a full-blown 70-200 portrait lens. Macro lenses are used in beauty and fashion all the time. I highly suggest them. They're very affordable. So, like I said, Tokina, here it is. Older lens on my, I believe this was my D800. So we have a pretty sharp image here. We have some issues here. I think this is a small scar she has, maybe another one right here that we could potentially clean up. We have some blemishes on her forehead, some hairs sneaking their way across the forehead as well. We've got a lot of flyaways that we can fix with a technique I'll show you. And we might tuck in the hair a little bit just to kind of at least try to match this side a little bit. A little more flowy on this side not so much. Might tuck it in a little bit over here. And the skin on her clavicle and the upper part of her chest looks beautiful. I'm not sure we'll need to deal with that, but if we decide to, then we could take a look at that too. So yeah, this is going to be a pretty comprehensive edit. So let's get started. Let me go ahead and open this up in Photoshop. Okay, so the apply image technique. So here's what we want to do. We're going to create 2 layers. And the top one we can call it texture, and the bottom one we can call it tones. You can call it whatever you want, but that's basically what they are going to be for. So we want to turn off the texture layer, and we're going to deal with the tones layer here. And what we want to do is go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and the idea here is to blur it to the point where you can no longer really see any detail. Now this is subjective. Some people think that this is still showing detail, whereas here you can make a case that this truly is really blurred out and I really don't see any detail at all. So what I have found though is that this method works best somewhere between 7 and 12. Seems to be the range. So let's take a look at this blemish as an example. Let's go up to 10. Okay, so we'll click OK. So our bottom layer is set. So what we'll do now is go to Texture, click on Texture, go to Image, and we're going to go to Apply Image. Okay, and so this is where the parameters are important. For a 16-bit image, okay, you can see RGB 16 right here, there is a specific set of parameters we need. So we're going to first choose the layer below the texture layer, in this case tones. Channel is going to be RGB. Blending, we want to change it to add. The invert, you want to invert it. The scale is going to be 2. The offset is going to be 0. This is not subjective. These parameters will always be like this for 16-bit images. Okay, so we're going to click OK. Now we're going to change the blend mode of the texture layer to linear light. Okay, great. So if we zoom in and we turn off these layers, we should see no difference between the original background and now these two layers that are set up for our retouching. We have now successfully separated, in essence, the tones of the photo or of the portrait of this image from the texture of this image. Let's start by addressing the tones. So there is a new tool called the Remove tool that was recently released, and it's extremely helpful in this situation. In the past, what you may have done and what we might still actually do is use the Lasso tool to globally change and update and make consistent the tones on the forehead, the tones on the cheek, the tones on this cheek, and perhaps the tones on the chin. With the Remove tool, you get a little more local. Okay, and so what it will do is remove and attempt to repair and make consistent the area that you swipe based on the surrounding values. Okay, so for example, this little stripe right here. So if we remove that, it looks like it's doing its thing. Okay, so it removed it. If we go back, we can see the original, and this is now removed. So if we just kind of rinse and repeat this, then we can get through this fairly quickly. Now, one thing you have to be cautious of is when you're dealing with tones, and this is true for any frequency separation method that you use, Photoshop is not smart enough to know the difference between a naturally occurring shadow and bone structure versus an actual skin tone issue, a skin variance. So this is where you, as the human, have to be in charge and be aware of that, because changing shadows can change the structure of a subject's face. So you just need to be aware, because that can happen here as well. So this is happening right here. You can see here that there's a bright part of the face, and this is attempting to remove it because I swiped it. I'm not sure I want to do that. Let's take a look here, and then let's swipe and see what it does. So that's probably too much. I'll probably go over that with a lasso tool to get a little more fine on that. Let's go ahead and take a look up here and just get rid of some of these. Okay. Now the rest of them, let's get rid of this one right here. Okay, so the rest of them here, more on a global sense, I probably want to go ahead and do with a lasso tool. Before we get into that, let's go ahead and take care of textures. So let's go to the textures layer, go into a Clonse Stamp. And now there's not a lot, but there's a few. Make sure your opacity and flow are at 100%. Okay, so that looks great. So now we will go back to tones and we'll go to our lasso tool and we'll circle this area. We're on 15 pixels on the feather, by the way. This is important because the feather effect will allow the change to be gradual versus abrupt. Okay, so it's important that you have that set to 15, or depending on the size of your image, it could be anything. So I'm going to start out with 15, and we'll go ahead and run a Gaussian blur on this selection. Let's go back. Let's take a look at where we're at. And so that will really even out the remaining tonal issues on the forehead. And like I said before, this would be better treated globally. And I want to go ahead and grab these tones and attempt to solve for this. That's actually really nice. It's very subtle, but it's really reducing those highlights. I think that looks great. We want to go ahead and clean up here just a global application. That looks good too. Let's fix this right here. Okay, that looks good. And then wrapping up on along the bottom. And one could make an argument that the bottom part right here is unnecessary. I mean, this is all to taste. This is all up to you. I'm going to go ahead and go through with it because I think it makes sense. Okay, so let me get this middle part of her forehead as well. And we can also use it to reduce the shine here a little bit. Let's see if we can reduce this just a little bit. Shine on her nose. Yeah, just to make it not so prominent. Okay, so let's take a look at before. Let's get these in a group. This is after, this is before. Okay, let's zoom in, and this is going to be after. Okay, before and after. Okay, so you can see pretty quickly that the power of this, and it doesn't look blurry, it looks realistic. I'm not exactly happy with this part right here, but that's being nitpicky, and I don't think I have to worry about that. But that is the frequency separation, apply image technique. Now, we're done with the face. Let's go ahead and mess with some other things. Let's see if we can bring out the eyes, for example. So I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to switch to a brush. This one's a really easy one. And opacity and flow is at 100%. And I'm just going to paint in and kind of fake emulate the appearance of a under the head reflector. Eyelighter is what I think Westcott sells something called the eyelighter, and it's essentially the same idea. So what we want, obviously that doesn't look good. What we want to do here is get this down to soft light. You can use overlay. I prefer overlay because it retains, it's contrasty. It retains the details of the iris. Okay, so you can do that. Now that's obviously too much. So what you would do is creep that down to 0 and then kind of creep it up until you get something that is acceptable to you. Okay, so that brings out the eyes really nicely. Really nicely. Okay, next thing is let's see if we can kind of temper this hair a little bit. So now that we've gone through, let's bring the eye effect. We'll call this eyes. We want to keep this as non-destructive as possible, though. So I don't want to commit these changes to a new image. I'm going to do what's called a stamp visible, but I only want to stamp visible the changes that I've made with the frequency separation. I do not want to commit this eyes effect. So the way you do that is Shift Option Command E, and that will stamp visible. Now, there really isn't any reason for me to keep this unless I am not confident in my stamp visible. I am confident, so I'm going to go ahead and remove the group. Okay, and I'm going to keep the eye as an additional effect. Now what I want to do is concentrate on the hair. And so one way to do that very quickly is with filter Liquify. Okay, and a cool technique that you may try is to use the freeze mask tool here to freeze the periphery of the hair so that we can kind of temper these crazy hairs going all over the place. So we'll do this. And you don't have to do this. I just want to make sure that nothing gets affected. Basically what this does is it freezes the image from any effects that you apply using any of the other brushes. I'm really going overboard here. I don't have to do it, but it kind of illustrates the point. I want the entire thing frozen except for these hairs. So I'm going to switch now to the forward warp tool, and I'm going to bring these hairs in a little bit, temper them. And we'll have to fix things like that where the canvas is getting affected on the side there, as you can see. We'll fix that in just a second. Some of these hairs are a little too wild, and we'll have to manually fix them. In fact, along the top here, I'm getting the canvas stretched out, and may have to be a little more manual in that case. But this should kind of assist you with globally affecting. We don't want to go too unrealistic. We want some of the hair to be retained, otherwise it looks fake. So we'll do that. We'll start with that. Now I'm going to switch over to a reconstruct tool to fix these edges, to reconstruct them back to their original. Okay, now we're going to commit these changes. All right, so we have a little more control over the hair, as you can see. Let's do before and after. Before, the hair is just kind of all over the place. Now we have it brought in a little more. Still some work we need to do on it. I need to fix these manually because her head was too close to the top of the photo. But you can obviously, there's a major improvement there. Got some dirty sensor dust specks that I need to remove as well. Okay, so that should help globally. Now we'll go and fix things manually at this point. And so there's a variety of ways to do this. We do also doing what we just did revealed kind of the global periphery of the hair and the head. You can see here there's a dip, and so we might want to get that a little more perfect. And you can do that now, or you can do that after we fix the hair manually, either way. But yeah, same here. We got a line that's kind of coming down, and then it dips, and then it comes up, and then it drops off, and then it goes off over here, and et cetera, et cetera. So still got to do some cleanup. Those eyes, the longer I look at this, those eyes are looking not what I want. That looks too much. So let's maybe get it down to 20. We want it to be subtle, not overwhelming, not unrealistic, not insane looking. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to the spot healing brush tool for all these crazy hairs. This is the best tool, in my opinion, you can use to get rid of these pesky hairs. It takes time, but I think in this case it's our best option. Now, if if this were a headshot, you probably don't have to worry about getting too insane with removing every single one of these things. If this were a beauty portrait, though, and perhaps you were contracted to provide this, and then they may require perfection, in which case you may spend quite a long time getting rid of these things. Now, one thing that's interesting about that filter option, or rather the Liquify option, you could literally flatten all this hair down all the way. The problem with that is, like I said, it can look fake, and there's a sudden drop off of suddenly no hair, which isn't natural. But if you get close, you can make it look good, and you can make it look very well done. It's just a matter of practice. If you zoom in real close, you can see where the paper is getting stretched. And there's ways we can fix that too with the patch tool is the first thing that comes to mind. I'm going to try something here to try to get rid of these very quickly because this is just a mess down here. What we're going to try to do is separate all of this from the main area of the head, and then I'm going to use the patch tool to hopefully get rid of these globally in one shot. The way that we do that is we have to create separation between the stuff we want to remove and the stuff we want to keep. So I'm going to use this patch tool, or sorry, Clonse Stamp tool, and get some separation going here. Okay, now I'm going to switch over to the patch tool. Ah. All right, and we'll move that out. There we go. And you could attempt to do that with some of these other ones here too, but it's really good for bigger clumps. I mean, these little ones are better removed with the spot healing. Yeah, we can probably fix this with another Liquify. So let's do that. Okay. All right, so I think we've done a pretty good job about getting rid of the flyaways. We're going to go ahead and do another Liquify, though, and I'm going to make global corrections to the global periphery. I'll miss this little piece right here. Let's squish this in real quick. See if we can get this to... I might go fix that later manually. Okay, so anyway, we're just rounding out at this point, just fixing, like I said, getting a little more flow with the hair, the global, on the global side. And another thing we can do here is fill in some of this hair. So we'll clone some of this hair here to see if we can just fill this in a little bit, this little gap. And let's do another Liquify. See if I can push in now that this side needs to be pushed in a little more just to keep it from sticking out so much. It's really flaring out and evident now, and that tempers it a little bit better. Much nicer. Okay, so we fixed the face. We have removed blemishes. We've removed tonal issues or fixed tonal issues. We have fixed flyaways and done a global kind of readjustment on her head or her hair, the periphery of her hair. So let's take a kind of a look at where we're at this point. Let me go ahead and put these into a group. Before and after. Before and after. I think I committed the eyes glean in perhaps, let's see if we can fix that here. What we'll do is add a layer mask. Yeah, I must have committed that by accident. So we'll paint in the original eyes. Those are the originals. Get that fixed. There we go. And we'll move the eyes up above. That's what we want. That's why they were looking so crazy. I think I accidentally committed them in a prior step. So that's closer to what we want. All right, guys. Thank you for sticking with me this entire time. I hope that helps, and we'll see you on the next video.